Hello everyone, it is September 11th, 2017, and we are going for probably our second to last or third to last garden tour this year. So let's get started. As you can see, the trees are doing just fine. Some took better than others. This apple tree right here, this is a Macintosh, took really well. So did the Bartlett pear. The winner though is the peach tree this year. All of this from here on up is new growth. This is where the stem ended when I planted it. And these other two, this is an apple with a spider web on it. This is a Granny Smith. Doesn't look too good at this point. Some of the leaves are drying up. Granted, leaves are falling in this area, so I'm not too concerned by that. But the proof in the pudding will come in the springtime. And this other Starking Delicious pear, again, it's smaller than the rest of them, but we'll see how it goes in the springtime. So, on to the garden. The garden itself is pretty magical. So, before we go in, let's take a look on the outside. Actually, I was thinking of doing a garden tour after I had done some composting and some harvesting, but I thought, well, I'll do a before and then I'll do an after. So this is your before tour. Here's where the cauliflower used to be. I'll be ripping that out later. The Brussels sprouts are pretty much ready, so I can start harvesting them. And behind them, the celery we'll be putting into soup and things shortly. Beans on both ends look good. We had great big harvests of beans this season, as we always do. Some of them are still good, like these beans in here. They're still young and tender enough that we can cook them and they'll be good. But then there are some that we just didn't harvest that are a little gross, like this one. This is a yellow bean, but it's turned yellow and it's cracking. So as you can see, that one's a little past its prime. That's quite all right. There's a lot going on in the garden this year in September, which is really the first year for me. Usually September is just kind of an ignoring month. Let's see. Here's what the celery looks like. Oh, it looks like celery. Imagine that, a little greener than what you buy in the stores, and that is perfectly fine. It'll go great in soup. But aren't the leaves pretty? I always thought that these were pretty enchanting looking. The whole Swiss chard section and lettuce section was a battle lost, and I never fought it for the rest of the year. My one kale plant is monstrous. I might have a couple peppers left. I do have a couple peppers left. Well, first off, there's at least one jalapeno there. And in between the spider webs, yeah, take a look. Let's move that thistle over. See, I've got peppers still. Got some pepper flowers here. That might do something until our first frost. So good on the peppers. In this area, this is what happened after the squash bugs did their business. As you can see, they pretty much killed the squash plants, which was all right. The spaghetti squash was done, and what we have over here, where there are still leaves left, are pumpkins and butternut squash. So I've got a fair few butternut squashes, as you can see here, with a couple of the bugs on them, but they are doing just fine. And I've got a pumpkin over there that's starting to turn orange. It's about as big as a basketball. And then over here to my left, I've got a smaller pumpkin. This is about as big as a human head. But the real winner, which you can see well because all these vines are gone, is this pumpkin right underneath here, which is the size of a much bigger basketball. Isn't that cool? So we're going to be cutting him and curing them. And then all throughout the garden are my decorative gourds. I think I've probably got a dozen and a half, but it might even be more than that. I'll be finding out tonight. Gonna harvest these and cure them and use them for decoration. And look it! Da, 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 da. This happened like this week. I'm not even kidding. We're so happy! I'm so happy. My first sunflowers, the ones that I planted from seeds in the middle of June, far too late for their season. Here we are on September 11th, and two of them have actual flowers. And the third one's got that lovely crown. This one is kind of a little flaccid. I'll tie him up. But this one's nice and proud. Oh, I will definitely do sunflowers again next year. Tomatoes are still going well, looking good. It's a pretty tomato. Got a couple pretty tomatoes over here too. Oh God, you know, I have a lot of squash. Look at that, there's another butternut, and it's totally ready. Nice and firm. And I've got these decorative gourds all over the place. Actually, the squash bugs maybe did me a favor. I can see what I'm working with. Aren't these tomatoes just pretty? And they're still ripening, which I like, so we can eat them at a manageable pace for us. Got a few zucchinis that are still good. Of course, there's squash bugs on them because they're eating the leaves around it. They don't do actual damage to the zucchini itself. They're just ugly as hell. So like, here, if I pick this, first off, take a look at that ugly sucker. Blow that away. Good looking zucchini, and this is pretty much the end of the year. In fact, maybe these zucchini plants lasted longer than they did in years past, so I will be pulling these out in my harvest. Put that back down the ground for now, it'll be just fine. Oh, looks like somebody got a tomato and it fell on the ground. That's okay. Moving on. The raspberries. What do you think of Raspberry Week last week? Did you think that was interesting? Just a couple short videos. It was fun for me. Yeah, so it's everything that you saw in the video. Raspberries in full force. We've got some that are ripe and ready to be pulled, some that have been pulled, some that are in the process of ripening at various levels, and then some where the flowers like just got pollinated. So these suckers will go until past the first frost, and they're actually pretty tasty when you harvest the ones right after the frost. So, and take a look, my squash climbed over this trellis. That's interesting. Didn't intend that, but here, let me. Oh, geez, I stepped on something. Look at that. Got a decorative gourd growing in the raspberries. That's cool. What did I step on? Let's find out. Oh, a spaghetti squash. I thought we had harvested them all. That makes number 8. I'm so excited. Surprises in the garden. The gooseberry plant itself looks very healthy. Did not produce anything this year. That's okay. It's just year number 2, and that was bare root before, but it's huge. And then these here are the sweet potatoes. You know, it's been about 120 days, so I can start looking down here. I don't really know what I'm looking for. I'll start digging. I doubt I'll find anything. I probably should have done them in a barrel, like I will do next year. Otherwise, like I said, raspberries are going crazy good. Even the perimeter raspberries that we planted, they are producing. I'm gonna harvest little mini watermelons too, because I think they're done growing. And I've been picking ground cherries still. It's kind of always ground cherry season once they get started. As you can see, pretty much all of them are ripe and perfectly harvestable. Excellent. Yeah. Like, sorry about this, keeps blurring up. You can kind of see a little red over there. Those are raspberries. There's a remember the Egyptian walking onions? I used a ton of onion this year. They'll come back next year, but they just look weird. And there's some weeds in between there, but that's okay. Otherwise, the garden was a great success. I really loved it this year. So, did you have success in your garden? What was something new that you planted, like my pumpkins and squash and stuff? That was new for me. The garden gate was a fun new project. These trees, that was a new project for me. Just had a terrific time in the garden, and we've got a lot of exciting ideas for 2018. So, let me know what you're growing. Is your growing season done? Did you do a fall garden? I didn't, obviously. Is this truck annoyingly loud? Yes, it is. Whatever. I hope you're doing well. We'll see you again for 2 more garden tours, and until next time, happy gardening. Hey guys, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe right away and hit that notification bell so you never miss another Midwest Man Mountain video. If you like this, you'll like either of these, and thanks to my Patreons for making things possible. Until next time, bye!